Do you mind carrying the mic, Jay?
I'm going to carry a mic, yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do two mics.
You can. Yeah, if you don't mind. I do I do too a bunch, but if you feel uncomfortable with it, we'll bring a mic stand in. Are you a walker? Okay. See what you think.
I'm going to hold two mics like this.
Hmm.
Okay.
And they're on different frequencies, so they won't
There
scream
won't be any interruption.
hurt each other.
Hey,
Do you mind doing that?
yeah. You know what? Clicker in one hand.
This is a bucket list thing you didn't even know about. This is the first time, and maybe the only time you ever do it. You feel positive about that.
I like your view of it, right? It's a bucket list.
Now the other end.
Okay. So how I'm starting it is once everybody is in here, there's video. So that's my capture moment. So I've got to have.
Okay.
So I'm
Just
gonna.
hold that
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
button
Just
there.
hold. Yeah. I'll
You
just
got to
hold.
hold it a little bit.
Yeah.
Then it'll come on.
Yeah. Good.
You're hot right now.
Don't go to
Live
the
on the
bathroom.
radio. I'm live on the radio.
No, we haven't put you on the radio yet. You're just on my machine. And you're going to be a walker, so we'll follow you, right?
Yeah.
Danny, where's your camera going live at?
What do you mean?
Where's this video going to be able to be released? KOV?
KLVradio.com.
Okay, if anybody asks, I just want to
Sure.
tell them.
You bet. And it'll be on Facebook and on YouTube, and it'll archive.
Whenever you're ready, have him form the port.
See you.
Let me take mine and do some preliminary. Jay Scheidler. Okay. Welcome everyone back on KALV and on the camera for just a little bit. I will display for just a few moments my 80th annual Winoka Rattlesnake Roundup sunburned nose from standing and announcing into the sun for 4 hours on Sunday. It's the first sunburn of the year. It's a tough one. So now that let's all go together. Okay. So I'm about to turn the microphone over to Jay Scheidler, who will tell you who he is, but he's from the Department of Commerce. Actually, I'm probably about to turn the microphone over to Jeremy Zeller. So, Jeremy, we're about to switch to Jay, your guy, right?
Yeah, data center guru. So, expert will let everybody know what a data center is and the good, the bad, the ugly, the fact, the fiction. And I told him to tell us a little bit about the past, present, and the future. So, should be good.
Outstanding. Thanks for doing this and the stuff that you do, man.
Happy to help.
So I know I don't turn my back on the camera, right? Okay. Well, just for this one time, I got to give him his microphone back. Thanks, sir.
About an hour.
All right.
Yeah.
Keep it at an hour.
Where are we at?
sides if you're gonna flicker them. Video? That's Darren. He's super good.
This book goes all the way back to 1971, and it has every single crop Daddy's ever planted in it. I uploaded it to ChatGPT. There used to be 200 certified seed farmers in South Carolina. Now there's 6. Can you log that I'm putting in another load of peanuts from the Red House pivot?
Absolutely. The Red House pivot field is on farm number 2392, so I'll log that you added another load of peanuts.
Thanks, ChatGPT. Mr. Wayne, that farm number is 2392.
Great, well, I got the farm number. I think to write it down. 2392.
I was an English major with a Shakespeare concentration. I couldn't wait to get out of this place.
I'm glad she's back. I never thought she would come back.
When I first tried ChatGPT, I didn't think it was going to be that good, but big time saver. There are a handful of us farming 2,000 acres. We'll take any help we can get. Hey, ChatGPT, can you generate a report for how much water we've used on the field behind the house pivot?
Absolutely. I can put together a detailed report for the field behind the house pivot.
When Daddy's gone, there's a lot to learn, and he has so much stuff in his head that I don't. So it makes me kind of nervous. How am I going to learn it all this quickly?
I'm not worried in the least bit about Rachel taking over this farm. She will do a wonderful job. Most thorough person you'll ever run across in your life.
Hey, ChatGPT, I need for you to log the lots that I have in the middle building. I have Paul lot 142, the Coker 227s, and can you make a map of that?
Absolutely.
Here's your seed layout map. Can you tell me what's wrong with these soybeans?
These soybeans are showing signs of stress.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see everything just fine. It looks like the part number is AH20360.
Appreciate it.
Send me a bill.
ChatGPT keeps the record straight, does the math, and remembers what I can. For over 100 years, my family's been doing this, and I don't want to be the one to mess it up. I hope I'm not.
You won't. You're too thorough.
And hard-headed.
Oh,
Thank you.
Farming is tough, but farmers are tougher. Rachel, I need a little bit of stock fluid.
How much farm do you think this pivot has?
Why don't you ask that thing?
Chat.
You might not work it dark.
No, he works it hard.
OpenAI ChatGPT spent $14 million on the 60-second version of that advertisement this year at the Super Bowl. 60 seconds. Reached somewhere between 115 to 125 million viewers around the globe at a price of about 12 cents. Their goal wasn't for you to go and download ChatGPT. The goal was for public perception of AI and emerging technologies that are coming for the future. My name is Jay Scheidler, and I'm with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. Thank you so much, Alva, for having me here to talk about an issue that is possibly of a concern, data centers in the United States and data centers in rural Oklahoma. The first thing, the hardest permit to obtain business permit-wise in the state of Oklahoma is the social license to operate. So I think that I really need to start with credibility. How in the world can somebody from the state of Oklahoma Department of Commerce come in here and talk about data centers? So let me give you a little background of my history. Even though I'm in economic development and business recruitment, I have spent 20 years in my past life and past employment with Dell Technologies, working around the globe in the infrastructure of enterprise equipment. I've worked with top household names, Dropbox, eBay, Uber, Google, all the applications that you guys use today. Other social license to operate critical things that I want to talk about is I've got a connection here to Alva, Oklahoma, and it's always great to come back. My wife is a graduate of Northwestern. She started her college career here, moved to Oklahoma City, went to OCU Law School, and is now one of 3 specialty judges in the state of Oklahoma for working for Oklahoma County. So Jeremy had contacted me a few weeks ago in regards to talking about data centers, and really what we need to understand is where are we at with our knowledge base around data centers and what they actually do. So I need to meet you where you're at. And so get down to some of the basics around data centers, what they are, what they actually are used for, and how is that making an economic impact within your community. I think that video really resonates with a lot of the people in the crowd today, as well as this community and rural communities throughout the state. So I just want to start with some basics really around what data centers are and what they're used for. Everybody in this room has a cell phone, an iPhone, Android. We have the actual device that is connecting to the networks out there that has that information and flow of traffic to get you the critical information that you need to actually go about your daily lives. And a lot of us don't understand the economic impact that can bring to business attraction and retention within the state of Oklahoma. This has been ingrained in our lives. My children that you guys might have, their lives have been a tablet. Their lives have been a cell phone. This technology has been in front of them, and it's embedded in their daily forms of life. So getting down to the basics is we've got the device that we use, but where is all of this information hosted? And that is where data centers come into play. So by definition here, we can see that data centers are the physical infrastructure that powers the digital world, right? So a data center is a hosted warehouse or a site location that where all this traffic and information flows. So think of this as a very large building or a campus-sized infrastructure that has critical servers that stores information, makes information communicate to gets back to the devices that you have in your hand, desktop, notebooks, laptop computers. So data centers typically contain the following, right? Like I said, we've got servers that do all the computing, we've got storage and backups, networking equipment, cooling systems that use water and electricity, and power to make sure that information and traffic flows. So data centers are not all one size. And I think that there has been a public perception out there that every data center is a hyperscaler. And when I say a hyperscaler, hyperscale is large enterprise infrastructures, somewhere to building sizes of 100 to 1.5 million square feet that are housed with all this equipment. This building right here is a data center. The hospital is a data center. The hotel is a data center. There's no doubt about it. There are data centers here in Alva. They are communicating with you within the community, and they are part of your daily lives. Now the question is, from an economic development standpoint, is a data center right for your community? And the state of Oklahoma is not making that decision for you. That is a decision for the community themselves. And we just want to make sure that everybody is educated to see if this is something that you would like to welcome within your community. Measure twice and cut once. How do you translate technology, data centers into rural communities? I think that we need to start with the facts rather than focusing in on the fears. Like I said, not all projects are the same size. Power requirements are definitely a forefront that a lot of these data centers are requesting and requiring, and the availability. Water usage, water consumption. I know that water is scarce in western Oklahoma. Water is a topic of discussion every time that we get east or west of I-35. So there's a lot of rumors out there And once again, coming back to facts or fiction, is questions that I think that we should ask ourselves is, do we have enough power and availability to support a data center? Do we have the water availability? Should it be governed by some kind of regulatory system? Should government get involved? Should the community get involved? Should the citizens of your community have a voice in bringing this kind of economic impact to your community? And I'm there and support it. The state supports it. We need to make a conservative effort and conservative approach on how we approach data centers. But I'll tell you this, they're not going away, right? Data is growing leaps and bounds, and the technology is growing leaps and bounds. One of the advantages that we have in the state of Oklahoma is geographically, we're located right next to the 9th largest global economy in the world. Anybody know what that is? Texas, right? And I'll tell you this, Texas is creeping over the Red River into Oklahoma. Last year, the construction rate was up 125% for data centers in the state of Texas. The economic impact just on data centers alone is larger than Oklahoma's entire GDP for the year. Job creation, water usage, electricity availability, power consumption, all of those items are concerned. We need to be concerned about it. I'm concerned about it, but we need to take the right approach to it. Infrastructure is a major component that you need to focus in on when having conversations around data centers. Is your community available to receive the infrastructure impact? Are the upgrades going to cost communities, citizens, an impact in their utility bills, right? Is an upgrade of the utilities going to affect future generations? These are definitely areas of concern that we need to drill down on. But I think that you guys have an advantage being in a rural community because, like the video showed, farmers are tough, right? Farming's tough, but farmers are tougher. John Deere Tractor is one of the world's largest technology developers in the world. You can't go and cash and carry a monitor that goes in your combine at Best Buy. It's a proprietary equipment that you got to hook up for a $15,000 to a $30,000 monitor in that combine. I see a lot of heads nodding here, right? One tire, one part cost you a lot of money. So they are one of the world's largest technology providers in the world. Cat, right? Everybody knows who Cat is, Caterpillar. The 5 retail providers, which would be AWS, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, they make up 25% of Caterpillar's global bookings annually with their backup generators, right? That is a very large number, and all of those are going into data centers globally. I think the question is, possibly how could we bring that supply chain from a manufacturing standpoint to Oklahoma? If there are data centers that are going to be in proximity to our location, how do we capitalize not just on the employment rate, but also everything that comes with the supply chain around data centers? So modern, agriculture, you got precision technology that's in your equipment today, right? You've got variable rates in terms of spraying. You've got a lot of data that's being collected. And all of this information has to be stored somewhere, and critical decisions and educated decisions are being made within agriculture that are using technology today, and all that information is stored in data centers. Innovation is definitely the new standard, I'll tell you this. In hyperscalers, we have seen building sizes start to scale back. Like I said, there are sizes of hyperscale infrastructure that could be somewhere between 10,000 square feet to about 1.5 million square footage of buildings that are hosting all of that server equipment within their infrastructure. The technology is definitely shrinking in terms of chip size for that equipment. The technology is definitely advancing in their cooling systems, their HVA systems, their water usage, their electricity usage. But we need to make sure that we're making an educated decision that this is right for the community. Don't judge this year's crop by last year's weather. I think that would probably resonate here in Alva, Oklahoma, and the surrounding communities as well. I think that the modern data centers should be evaluated on current facts and not of the outside assumptions. The new modern data centers are definitely not the older models that we've seen. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Google's second largest data center is located in Pryor, Oklahoma. They use a lot of water, right? They use a lot of energy. Google just announced last year that they are making a $9 billion, with a B, in the state of Oklahoma for campus extension, right? I will tell you this, their advancements in technology is definitely going to shrink the size of those locations. There's no doubt about it. They're still going to use water. They're still going to use electricity. But they have become citizens of Oklahoma. They have become our partners. They have become individuals that we want to work with and learn with as we move forward and advance data center locations in the state of Oklahoma. Now, energy, once again, is a very critical, area that we talk about because of the availability and the capacity usage. In the site selection process, when a lot of developers are looking for locations, in the past, they had frequently followed the 345 kV lines, transmission lines, to look exactly how close they could get to those locations to build upon the available real estate. There are some things that we'll focus in on here on this slide deck, some changes that are taking place in the state of Oklahoma, but we work directly with the site selectors, our utility companies, to make sure that we're aware of these projects and that it's going to be a good investment and successful investment for these developers, along with making sure that it's a best practice for the community. New designs have definitely become put in place around electricity consumption. I was able to visit Loudoun County in Virginia, and if anybody's familiar with Loudoun County, Virginia, it is the data capital of the world. In the single county, they have 186 data centers. 186 data centers in one single county. Let me tell you, the roads are very nice, right? The income that county brings in, the average median household income is $147,000, right? They definitely have the infrastructure to support it, and 75% of the world's network traffic, flows through Loudoun County. Now, proximity is designed around where all that information flows. They're about 30 miles west of Washington, D.C., right? There's actually 17 classified data centers that are not discussed that are in that county as well. They're running out of real estate. They're looking within the fabric of the United States, and they're definitely looking in the Midwest. So energy is definitely a driver for data centers. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but out at 23rd and Lincoln, there's been some new legislation that's passed for behind the meter. And that makes this very, very attractive for the state of Oklahoma. We're sitting on an abundance of natural gas here in the state of Oklahoma. There is some new technology out there called fuel cell technology. Fuel cell technology. This is stackable technology that would allow you to basically drill a hole in the ground in Oklahoma, use the natural gas to actually provide the electricity and power for your emerging technology. Now, that is very attractive for data centers, but that's also very attractive for other industries that we can bring to the state of Oklahoma. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but last year we also announced one of the first smelter that's going to be coming to the ports in Tulsa, that a smelter hasn't been built here in the state of Oklahoma or in the United States in 45 years. Right? They're going to require a very large capacity of power, and they're definitely considering options behind the meter. Once again, water is always a topic of concern, especially out here in western Oklahoma. I can tell you that I've been in data centers that have used 17,000 gallons of water a day. 17,000 gallons of water a day. Evaporated, non-potable water, right? There's definitely concerns if there are data centers and businesses that are looking in communities for that amount of water. Technology is definitely improving, right? A lot of the data centers today that are building campuses are using closed loop systems and reusing water and making it potable water. I think that there are going to be some topics of discussion at 23rd and Lincoln around water usage within data centers. I know that there's bills that are on the line, but this technology is really improving, and they're really looking to improve the closed loop systems. So, like I said, I think that the conversation that needs to be explored and discussed is a data center a right fit for this community? I think that that's the topic of discussion, not necessarily fact or fiction. It's, is this a right fit for our community? So the things that you really need to focus in on when evaluating is, are we ready? Is our infrastructure ready? Can we support this? Is this something that we want to bring to our community and to our citizens? What are the economic goals? A lot of fact and fiction out there is data centers are, no doubt about it, a very high capital expense, right? We've heard hyperscalers that are building infrastructure starting at $5 billion per building, right? $5 billion per building, and how many people do they actually employ? Well, the data center themselves might have 30 employees to actually support the infrastructure. The building is the heartbeat, right? The building is the heartbeat. They might employ somewhere to between 350 to 1,000 employees, right? And so there are economic opportunities for increased citizens for wages within those data centers. But I just want to let you know that there's a very high capex cost with these, and there's not necessarily a high employment rate. Once again, what's the long-term sustainability? The noise has been there for generations, right? The railroad's coming to town. The interstate's going to be going through my backyard. The Walmart's coming to town. What are they going to do with that building in 30 years when they move out of our city, when they move out of our community? Well, what's going to happen to a data center, 1.5 million square foot building, and they're done? What's the reuse for that building? What other economic impact can we bring if that company leaves? What's that going to do to our tax base? What's that going to do to our future generation? Those are the questions that you need to ask. Once again, is this right for our community? And what kind of economic impact is this going to make for us? Once again, around why is Oklahoma even being considered as a particular location for these companies to actually look at Oklahoma for bringing a data center? Number one, we've got an abundance of land here in Oklahoma, right? Probably in this room, you've had individuals, landowners out here, individuals that basically are like oil and gas landman knocking on your door to see if you're going to sell any of your property for a data center or any kind of emerging technology business. It's out there every single day. They're probably following, once again, the 345 kV lines out there because of your proximity to electricity. If it hasn't happened, it's going to start happening. So be ready. Strategic locations. Strategic location, once again, goes into locations near electricity lines, water availability, as well as workforce. Fiber, the availability to connect the world to your community. And also, in Oklahoma, we got a pretty good story to tell when we go to lower development costs, right? Geographically, where we're located, right here in the center of the United States with the crosshairs of I-35 and I-40, 44 that's cutting across the state of Oklahoma, logistics-wise, building-wise, you can get this equipment in pretty fast and pretty quick, and we've got a good distribution center. There are some positives to data centers. Number one, the investment itself within the community, like I talked about in Loudoun County, can definitely improve infrastructure. The roadway systems, the tax base that possibly might go to the high school. Frisco, Texas, 20 years ago, had 2 high schools. They're building their 14th today. All right? Once again, the proximity of Texas to Oklahoma, it's creeping over the Red River, and it's going to be here before you know it. That investment that was once in Texas is definitely going to be coming to Oklahoma. And like I said, with a 125% increase in data center construction rate, it's crossing the Red River. One of the things that I think that I would encourage you to do as you sit down with your community leaders, your community itself, is definitely put together some kind of SWOT analysis to measure the impact of what you think would bring to your community. These projects are won at the local level, right? This is your decision. Do you want this? Can we support this? Is this good for our citizens? What's the longevity? But I tell you, it's not going away. And it's going to be here for a question for future generations as well. So once again, why Oklahoma? These are reportable statistics that we talk about daily. We are the #1 state for the lowest cost of doing business, right? That is a very, very admirable statistic that we should lean on. And that's why business attraction is looking at the state of Oklahoma in multiple industries, not only data centers, but because of that high CapEx cost, that's what makes us look attractive. We're ranked #2 in the state for energy costs. We're 20 to 30% lower than the national average. I'll tell you, when we were talking about EGA and the smelter that it's coming to Oklahoma, a 1 cent increase would cost the company $17 million more per month if they have an increase in utility price, right? We are driving business attraction by our availability of energy, our availability of natural gas, and the cost. We also have a very reliable labor force. This is what we need to do to set up success for the state of Oklahoma, is to not only teach the individuals to get ready and be prepared, but also have the availability pipeline and bench players that can flow into these technologies and flow into these industries. We're a big top 10 list in Oklahoma, right? And I'm going to kind of close with this. You know, these are the top 10 areas that companies, especially data centers, that are looking at when they're evaluating locations. You can see here, number one of the driving factors is energy itself. We've talked about that, the abundance in Oklahoma. We've got the available land and sites. We have the labor force. We've got very, very easy permitting processes. Maybe that's something that we need to talk about and discuss when we're talking about bringing these types of technologies and data centers to rural communities, is, do we actually want a data center? And if so, what are the regulations and permitting process that we need to put in place? At the Oklahoma Department of Commerce, things that we've talked about around technology, around data centers, is possibly working with our communities, evaluating the communities to see if they even have an appetite for a data center. That would allow us to actually notify site selectors, data center prospects, that you shouldn't even look in Alva, Oklahoma. You shouldn't even look in Guyman, Oklahoma, because that is not the type of industry that they want. That is not the decision for us to make. That is a decision for you to make, but we want to make sure that you guys have all the education and that you're aware of what needs to be possibly put in place so you can make the best educated decision for your community. Like I said, Jay Scheidler with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. I am the Director of Business Recruitment. I am here for you. I travel globally and domestically trying to create economic wealth for the state of Oklahoma and the citizens of Oklahoma. We are here to help. We are here to support, but it is for the local community to make these decisions, to make the impact on your community for future generations. Thank you very much. More than happy to answer any questions. I've got a question right here.
Yeah, so throughout the presentation you said it's a decision for the community itself.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm finding is we don't have much self-determination around here. We don't have any zoning. The commissioners can, correct me if I'm wrong there, but the only zoning that exists is here in the Alva city limits. So how do we have a voice in any of this whenever there is development going on? You mentioned some of the things that folks are looking for site selections. The property that this data center company has purchased and is public information aligns with all of those key indicators that you mentioned. So how do we have a voice in self-determination in deciding whether or not this really is for our community whenever we really don't have any checks and balances here?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no structure around it right now, right? And I agree with you, is some kind of structure needs to be put in place, because your Alva is not the only community that has these concerns. There needs to be a voice. There needs to be something that can be stood up for local citizens to actually communicate and make these educated decisions. One of the things that a lot of these hyperscaler developers are actually doing is they are setting up points of contacts within their companies that you can have that voice of reason with and communicate with them. I know that that's at the business level, but I think that that's something that needs to be put together within the communities themselves, and the citizens need to put that in place. Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to interject that Senate Bill 1619 by Senator Warren Hamilton and a few other representatives, there is some language in there that would allow for citizens to have a voice. We need to follow up with those representatives and that Senate bill, but it would give a process for citizens to be able to have a time to speak their opinion.
That's great. I think that that's a great idea, right? Because as you've seen in the news that in eastern Oklahoma, they have gone through some zoning process issues. There's been some, outcry that's come with the county commissioners. And so, we definitely need to take that conservative approach and put some practices and balances in place so we are making informed and educated decisions. Yes, sir.
Earlier you said 1.5 million square foot building using about 17,000 gallons of water a day. Are those the comparable? Like how many of those are taking place in Oklahoma?
0.
Okay. So what's the size tract of land that those are usually on?
Somewhere between, majority of the time, the site selectors are looking somewhere between 400 to 1,000 acres.
Okay. So in a 5-acre tract,
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking because I don't know the answer to it. How much water consumption on a closed system would be used on a 5-acre tract? And what would be the dollars to the community through the utility taxes for that size of a project?
Yeah, good question. I don't know what that would be to the dollars to the community, but the average use is about 2 million gallons a day.
2 million gallons a day on a 5-acre tract on a closed system?
Yes. Yes.
I have another question. Do you know why the Southwest Power Pool has changed the high impact large load request to being no longer publicly available information as of January 15th? So we're no longer able to see when a company has gone in and is trying to negotiate those rates. So do you know what prompted that? Or, I am unable to get that information. I refuse to sign an NDA. That's what the Southwest Power Pool told me, is that I would have to sign one to be able to know whether or not that high impact large load request is happening here in Woods County, but there is industry media that have published that it is happening. So why did that happen, and how can we as a public know if folks are making those requests in our backyard?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. So we work with the utility companies, all of them here in the state, but I don't know the answer to that question.
Is there any way you could find out?
So that is not something that is in my in my job description, but would definitely love to see if there is some possibility of helping you out.
So how big of a spot are we planning on putting up here? How big of a data center do you want to put here?
I am not aware of any data centers that are going to be going on in this area. I'm aware that there have been some land purchases. I'm not sure what their intent is, but I'm not aware of data centers that are going to be located and going for construction yet.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
So it's 160 acres that's been purchased by an Australian company under a subsidiary of a strong company is called IREN. And it is located right next to where the solar farm is being built, right across the dirt road. It has all those key indicators like he mentioned, the huge power supply right next to a substation, as well as some of those other things too. But what the company has put in its investors meeting is that their Oklahoma campus is going to be 2,000 acres. They're being very vague on exactly where. And next week they're actually on the agenda for the commissioners meeting down in McAllister, because the same company is actually requesting rezoning there. We don't have zones for them to come in and request that here. But that is what their plans have been put out there for. There have been unsure. You know, I just moved here last Thursday. So I tried to learn.
Welcome to the community.
Yeah, I'm from Winoka. That's where I grew up. And so this is really important to me. But that is what their plans are. That's what they've indicated in their investors meeting. I'm curious what their next investors meeting will entail. But plans are 2,000 acres. It would be the largest data center in Oklahoma.
So the same company, you're right, has purchased land down in Pittsburgh County. There are a lot of prospectors and a lot of the household names that I have mentioned that are landowners here in Oklahoma. You know, have they sat on that land for 5 years or longer? Absolutely. So, you know, I'm not sure what their intent is and what their scope is actually going to bring in terms of their size of the data center. So yeah, I definitely would get involved somehow so that a voice can be heard around, you know, what they're actually looking to bring here.
I'm a little different than most guys here. I build stuff all over the world, okay? And Alva does not have the infrastructure to build a data center that big. We don't have the concrete plants. We don't have the rock available to even go into the concrete. We don't have the water to put into the concrete to build the building. We don't have the cranes. We don't have the roads. Nothing like this. So in order for us to get to a point where we can build a data center, it's going to be a huge investment in infrastructure in this county. Where's it going to come from?
Yeah, I would talk to your community leaders, right? That is definitely not an area of, you know, of our you know, focus, right? And we're with the state, right? We're here to support the state, but the projects are won at the community level.
I think at the end of the day, so the city of Alva provides water to, you know, a good number of customers in both rural water districts as well as the city of Alva and whatnot, and then there's other water for the rest of the county. But the city of Alva capacity, even with the new we've just with some help, you know, put about $20 million worth of infrastructure in for water. But even at that, we're looking at having only available water of about, you know, I think it's, I just got the information, hold on just a second. But it's roughly 3,500 gallons a minute or 5 million gallons a day. So it's really not it's not a feasible operation. I think from what I've talked to with the mayor of Pryor, you know, Pryor has access to 50 million gallons a day,
right.
And the data center's using, you know, 21 or something like that. And so where they're at, the resources are there for them to do what they're talking about. You know, you talk about the location, proximity to power and water. If you don't have all the pieces, the data center, and there's different types of data centers, whether it's Bitcoin mining or whether it's cloud storage or whether it's AI, they all have different demands on the infrastructure. But at the end of the day, they're not going, I can't imagine that they would invest in actually developing something if there wasn't going to be the resources available to conduct their business.
Absolutely. I mean, just based upon the water conversation alone that you know, where is that going to?
Well, it's kind of Kelly, but so what's to prevent, like, outside of city limits, individuals from doing like they did with fracking? And I drill a bunch of wells on my property and sell it down the road to a fracking operation. You know, would that provide enough water if they drilled a bunch of wells? I'm saying, is there a workaround that, you know, not use your water, not use rural?
Yeah, if they don't use the city of Alva's water, I don't know if there's any protections outside into the county.
I don't think there's
Oklahoma water free from the source of water, but they have to give them permits to actually use the water.
Yeah, and the permits.
With the, I know with fracking, they were very hesitant to limit water restrictions.
There's actually talks about putting a meter on that too for data centers. So, yes, sir.
Does it have to be a special water? Can it be high nitrate water?
Yep. I don't know the pH levels that are actually needed for it, but it's basically, you know, you can get well water and use it.
The hard
Yeah.
You had really hard water.
So in Pryor, they're taking it straight out of the river and they're circulating it about 7 or 8 times back through their system. It's going back into the river cleaner than it came in.
Yeah, so there's, there's treatable in and treatable out. So, and the goal is on the out is to get it to potable water. But most likely they do have some kind of water treatment to get it to the pH levels that they need if they're in rural communities.
So I'll just, full disclosure, I've done about 5 data centers throughout the state of Oklahoma, and I'm working on more right now. The size and the scale that's being discussed isn't remotely close to what my clients use. And I'm not discrediting what was said. What I'm really doing is saying exactly to what Mayor Parker just said. Understand the type of data center that is being discussed. It's not a one, they are all the same. That's not true. So please be sure, if you object to a data center, take the time to understand what that means, because it is different, and what their requirements are. And please note, people are not going, exactly what these gentlemen are saying, they're not going to invest in a community millions of dollars and think, oh, we're gonna run that well dry. One of the things we looked at, one of my clients looked at was here in Northwest Oklahoma. And I said, I don't think you understand Northwest Oklahoma. They don't have water. You can't do that to that community. It won't work. We actually reached out to the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, and it's like, here's the data confirming the water required for the kind of system that they wanted wasn't there. And I was like, we ended up not doing a deal in Northwest Oklahoma because the water wasn't there for that kind of use. But there are other kind of data centers that don't require as much water usage that actually would make sense. And from what I'm told on multiple occasions is the return on investment, well, that's not even true because the community wouldn't have an investment. The dollars to the community through all of the indirect taxes, through all the indirect jobs and things like that, well exceed any concerns that they have to the point that their schools would be incredibly better off. The opportunity to make investments in other community aspects should be no concern. So I'm just letting you know, I've done those deals, I continue to work on them. I think it's nothing but fantastic for the state of Oklahoma to be able to do this, and I just really encourage, know the facts before you object. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal.
Troy,
That's all I'm asking.
with your experience, what job creation do you see even on the minimal end of it?
Okay, minimal in the deals I've done, my clients have bought 85 acres, and they used maybe a quarter of it. And they're like, you know what, we just like that site, so we're gonna take down the 85 acres. We'll use a quarter of it. Through all the development side of it, whether it's the permitting and the construction and things like that, that's great. That's not long-term jobs. Maybe 5 people. That's it.
So we're not looking at a big employment boost.
You're not looking
Post-construction.
at a big job creation deal, but they're not asking the city for anything other than just the permission to do it. City, we don't need your funds, just let us build it. And we'll provide those jobs. The value to the city is all the indirect taxes that go to it. That's why their roads in Virginia are so nice.
My prior school system is top around anywhere. I mean, prior Oklahoma, their school system, their STEM programs, they're doing amazing things. And it's not because it's not because Google paid something to the school district out of obligation. It was out of giving back to the community. I think, and you may agree with this, you may not, but really, the IRNs, the kind of some of these companies probably aren't the companies that we would want to entertain. I mean, we would want to entertain a Google or an Amazon or a Meta or Microsoft, but you get outside of those entities and they're pretty shady, and they will rape and pillage and all of that stuff. But the ones that have a huge investment worldwide, like I just mentioned, if they're not interested in us, we're probably not interested in whoever's coming.
Yeah.
But those would be the ones that could stand to have a tremendous impact on our roads, on our school districts, and stuff like that. But it's these spin-off companies or the little bitty operations that are looking to make a quick buck or whatever it is, they're not going to be good for us. Whether we have the resources available or not, those aren't the companies that we want to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. When it starts out with the NIMBYism and the secrecy, I call them the prospectors, right? They're just they're prospecting, coming in, buying up land, and they're not becoming fiduciaries, of the citizens and the money that's available out there. And you're right. The top four and the top five, they're up front. They're very let's say easy and fun to work with. And they're here in Oklahoma, and they are definitely most likely going to grow in the state of Oklahoma based upon all of these decision factors. But yeah, we need to be cautious, right, of the prospectors that are coming into their communities.
Enid gets water from us. Why would it stop them from building one and taking our water?
I don't know the answer to that.
We had people know that.
They're on the same aquifer, right, floor.
Yeah, I mean, we supply Enid a lot of water.
They are or are not on the same aquifer.
They are.
They are. They are. Enid.
Cimarron,
Yes.
we're all getting down the
It's all the
same
Cimarron
pool.
up there.
We're all on the same.
It's a concept called tragedy of the commons. It's when everyone shares a resource, there's no advantage for me not to run 20 calves and you run one, because I don't care if I grade it out, I'm making more money. That's the same concept with the aquifer.
I'm just saying.
It's dangerous because there's no limit on me, and
We don't
not everybody's
take
going to be
advantage
nice
of
and use it for it. I mean, say it's sustainable, use it sustainably.
There was a question in the back.
When you mention closed loop, is there just a certain amount of water will be in that closed loop?
Yes.
I mean, so if you get a closed loop, you've got a certain amount of water that's going to be in that closed loop. How long will it be in that closed loop? And how often does it need to be refreshed or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about a closed loop, then we're not actually bringing in a whole lot of outside water on a continuous basis.
Correct, right. And the technology is advancing, so you're bringing in more water because through the HVA system, you have evaporation of water, right? So you've got a closed loop system that, say, is circulating, 10 million gallons, right, within the system, and then maybe 2 million gallons is being evaporated daily, and then you're bringing in more. So they're trying to make advancements in technology that eliminates the evaporation, that is a complete closed loop system, right, that would be used for repotable water as well, that might be able to go out into irrigation for crops and communities. So there's a lot of advancements that's taking place, but it comes to evaporation and that circulation.
Is there any noise pollution that comes with these data centers?
So that's a very, very good question. The technology is definitely advancing. And when I was in Virginia, I got to meet, go to one of the most recent state-of-the-arts. At the location, they had 91 of those CAT generator backup system solutions, with all of the infrastructure inside. If they turned on all 91 of them standing next to the building, it would be standing next to an 18-wheeler truck, right? So the technology is definitely advancing to really bring those decibel levels down. But yes, definitely the noise pollution is a concern, but I will tell you that the technology is coming, that it's minimizing that pollution.
So the Mayor Pryor was sharing with us last week with their massive Google data center that their codes are set with golly, I'm going to get this wrong, 70 whatever the measurement is for noise.
Mm-hmm.
Decibels. And so he talked about often bringing people to Pryor for economic development purposes or whatever, standing across the street at the restaurant or whatever, and being able to hear the traffic from the highway on the other side of the data center. It depends on the data center. The mining operations are extremely noisy, extremely dirty, if you will. But the cloud storage and the AI is going to probably be noisier than the cloud storage, because AI, you think about every time you say, "Hey Siri," you fired up a data center to generate the information you want. So it depends on the data center. Some of them are very noisy. Some of them are not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it depends. But once again, I think the advancements in technology and some of the regulations around what decibel levels need to be calculated at, they're meeting those expectations.
Are they a military target?
I mean, they are, right? I mean, we've seen it, right? They definitely have become a target. We're lucky to be surrounded here by some great military installations in the state of Oklahoma.
Maybe we'll put one here that we have to have a better response team and a quick reaction force and better hospital care for injuries that we don't have.
Yep.
Just asking.
After you build it, 5 employees.
Yep.
So we're not.
So Google, or Mayor Pryor was sharing that Google itself had maybe 150 employees there, but probably the maintenance technicians, the construction, people, and but they also, with Pryor, that's not going to be replicated anywhere else in Oklahoma.
Right.
But they have full-time staff cooking meals for all of their employees that are there, while they're at work. They've got, it's just a ridiculous amount of people that aren't necessarily working for Google, but it's a contracted food service agency. It's a contracted cleaning company. It's a contracted, maintenance, organization. And so those jobs, he estimated, are about 5,000. Google might have 150 employees.
We have a talent drain of our young people here, and we want to keep them, and they need not high income, but we want them to make good money, having good quality careers. And of course, we'd like to be a part of training that selfishly, but.
And Google's made that investment in their school system to where those kids are coming out and not wanting to leave Pryor because they can have a job right there ready for them that they're qualified to do because they've invested in training their future workforce.
That's the key. The closest one to us right now that's in planned construction is Stillwater.
Yes.
Yeah.
How big is that program?
I haven't seen. I'm not aware of the actual size.
We won't be on the. If anything happens, it's not going to be near scale to what we see and what you're going to see in Stillwater or what you've seen in Pryor or anything like that. We just don't have enough of the resources to be able to do what most of them need. But we've got to do a good job, though, of getting our infrastructure ready so that we can say these are what our infrastructure capacities are. This is what our, if anybody comes in, you can't exceed what we can provide or we can't do a deal. And you can't jeopardize the quality of life for the rest of our community or we can't do a deal. And that's some things that I know that, with our water infrastructure, we're going to have to start putting some caps on what people can use it for. And not that we're anywhere near exceeding that with our current use, but if we got down that road where a lot of high users were wanting to get into our system, there's limits to what we can do and still maintain quality of life that our people need. So it's our limitations that'll probably limit this, and I wouldn't expect anything massive at all, if anything at all. We just, OG&E might be able to get us all the power that is needed, but if it's going to be a water demand, it's not going to be there. Even if they are drilling their own wells, there's not. The Cimarron is the best aquifer in Woods County, and any of the other wells that are out there is pale in comparison. They're not going to be able to. It's not. I don't think it's realistic. So.
But if Enid can justify purchasing water from Alva, why couldn't they purchase water? I mean, they somewhere else and ship it in here just the same. I mean,
So are these companies coming to y'all as leaders, as community leaders, or, you know, because there's no checks and balances there, there's no requirements for them to.
Nobody has
So
approached any of us.
even if it doesn't make economic sense to us, if that company wants to take a chance, that's, I guess, where my concern
John or
is.
Shane, has anybody approached you guys?
not a soul.
Nobody's approached the city of Alva. Industrial Authority, nobody's approached you.
But there's no checks and balances or requirements statutorily.
I think that's why we're seeing some of that language in Senate Bill 1619. And whether or not it's still alive, I don't know. I'll check on it for you. Because I get it. I get where you're coming from a citizen standpoint. But until we're supported legislatively too.
Yeah, I'm wondering though, are there things locally we could do, like implementing zones across areas that don't have zoning, so that they would have to come and make that request?
That can be done.
Is that something that's been discussed at any commissioners meeting?
They can't.
Oh, they can't talk about that.
Talk about it.
Sorry.
Oh, that's a violation.
Oh, sorry, I put both of you on the spot.
Thanks, Kelly.
And I know better, I apologize.
It's been in place, I think, before us. That no zone. Don't know nothing about it.
So do these companies have to come for a permit or anything to the Corporation Commission, or?
That's for that high impact large load, and the Corporation Commission is no longer given identifying information. They have to go into the office to be briefed. There's search prior to that briefing. They can take notes, they cannot take any cell phones or anything like that in, but their notes are looked at before they leave that office.
It would make sense to me that we bring in and visit with these people. If we become the negative approach, I mean, you can look around and see other places that's grown. My opinion is, you know, all these things are interesting, but if we immediately put out a, don't come knock on my door, maybe they don't come, but there's water, there's electric, there's a lot of things that we don't know to be non-inviting to have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't send the
Yeah.
message, Woods County zone, we don't want any of it, because it'll stop everybody.
Right.
Not just these.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about is, you know, possibly trying to identify communities where we could have a menu to say, you know, these are the capacities that are available in the state of Oklahoma. If you're looking for a site selection, you know, they're welcome to this, you know, industry, to this business. You know, they can meet these requirements. But if somebody's looking, I need to get 1 gig of power tomorrow, you know, don't look in Alva. If I need 17 million gallons a day, don't look at Alva, right? So I think that those are the things that we are working on to try to make sure that we're communicating that with the businesses that are knocking on our door. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time here. I know that we started late, but thank you guys so much for your time. And Jeremy, I'm not sure if you need anything else, but thank you.
So, was it what you expected?
Absolutely. It was great to really talk to the community about readiness for getting ready for data centers, and then also the opinions that the citizens here within Alva, you know, have around data centers and bringing, you know, that industry to this area.
There are obviously people in the community that have done a copious amount of research.
Oh, absolutely. And there's actually individuals that have done work, you know, on data centers themselves. And so the building and construction. So, you know, it's great to see that there's a lot of community involvement and engagement, you know, around that industry.
It's in some respects and sometimes it appears to be very negative, but the negativity comes from a fear of that if those questions can be answered, the fear will go away or at least dissipate a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, you're right. There's a lot of fear because there's a lot of unknowns out there. And, you know, there's a lot of things that need to take place to get this education process in motion, so people can start understanding the facts before they're making decision on information that they're not necessarily aware of.
And we all play in that game of gossip, as it goes from person to person, the information changes rapidly and radically. So you have cleared up an awful lot of things. And one of the main ones is, look, we're not here handling this, the Jay Scheidlers of the world aren't. The community of Alva is going to be the one that decides about the community of Alva.
Absolutely. Like I said, I mean, with the Department of Commerce, our goal is to create economic wealth for the citizens of Oklahoma, and that's in all industries. But these projects are won at the community level. And there's definitely concerns about the availability of electricity, the availability of water, the usage of all of these utilities, and so I encourage everybody at the community level to get involved. And we heard that today in the public here. So it was great to see that this awareness is coming together, and everybody has a voice.
So for those of you that have joined us along the way, and we did go quite a while because there was quite a lot of information exchanged, this is Jay Scheidler with the Department of Commerce, the state of Oklahoma. A tremendous amount of clearing up. I don't know. I mean, there were tons of statistics. I don't know that we'll use a lot of how many electrons do whatever. But the stuff about is our community okay, and do we really have a place in this, and so on. That's been wonderful information, and we thank you for that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to understand what the appetite is for the communities, around the entire state. We're here to support, but like I said, it is one at the community level. So I encourage you guys to make sure that your voice is loud and focus on the areas and the strengths that you think can drive economic growth in the communities.
Thank you incredibly for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure, our pleasure. So thank you for listening on KALV, and I'm going to walk off of the camera here now. Those of you that are watching us on the stream, we appreciate you joining us. This has been Buckland on KALV, and this has been brought to you by all of our advertisers and by Jeremy Zeller, the community developments man in our area that does such a tremendous amount of good work. It is the Lieutenant Governor's turkey hunt going on in our part of the country, so it's not all work. It's not all work. There is a little bit of play about to happen, I understand. I will stop showing you this brick wall, and instead I'll show you a massive thanks. Thanks for joining us on KALV.